exciting that we get to come into this house, the house of God, and when we gather here, somehow whatever happened in the week, whatever problems we went through, whatever trials we faced, all of a sudden when you enter this house, I don't know about you, but something takes me over. When I enter this house, something fills me up. Something happens different when I get here. It's like a shout just forms in my bones. And I begin to tell God, God, you're bigger than my problems. God, you're bigger than my pain. It's exciting to come into this house and shout for God. But it's easy to shout when you're in this house. See, there are some moments, if you've been a Christian long enough, if you've served God for a major part of your life, or if you've walked with him long enough, there are some moments, if we could just be real, that it's hard to shout. There are some times when your shout is robbed from you. You see, one of the devil's greatest victories in this house is to shut down your shout. But I believe we got a body of believers here that your shout cannot be shut down. You can't tie it down. You can't hold it down. My shout can't be shut down. You see, we're not the first body of believers for the devil to chase after hard to shut down our shout. There were many who have come before us who the devil was after their shout. I want to talk about Hebrews chapter 11. It starts talking about the heroes of faith. Now, these are mighty men and women of God. If you could hang out with them, it would mess you up. The heroes of faith in Hebrews chapter 11, it begins to talk about Noah. Noah, who before Noah, God said he was sorry he made man. But Noah was there. Noah, who had never seen rain, but stepped up to the plate when God put a calling in his life and built an ark, and everyone was laughing at him, but he had faith to believe that God's word would not fail. And he stepped up, and I read about these heroes of faith. You can read further about Abraham and Sarah, who Abraham was too old and Sarah was barren, but God promised them that out of her womb would rise a generation that would outnumber the stars. I began to read about heroes of faith in Hebrews chapter 11. Heroes that if you could just hang out with them, it would take your shout to the next level. You talk about Moses, who his parents had so much faith that this was a man who would change the world, that when all the young men were being killed, they built a basket and floated it down the river, and God ended him up in King's palace. And later to stand in front of the Red Sea and hold out a staff and the sea would part. I read about heroes of faith like the walls of Jericho when the Israelites marched around them, and these walls were huge, and they got out of their comfort zone, and they blew little trumpets that God sent the walls down. Heroes of faith.